Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the Bird's Nest podcast. I'm Joe Donahue. Thank you so much for joining us on this emotional day for the city of Philadelphia and for Eagles fans everywhere, as Eagles defensive end, the longest tenured player on the Philadelphia Eagles roster, Brandon Graham, officially announced his retirement today at the NovaCare complex. It was an emotional press conference, and it was one of those things that I think that a lot of Eagles fans were expecting, given the fact that Brandon Graham himself alluded to it last year. Seemed like there was going to be this kind of farewell tour for the defensive end, but it definitely stings when you lose somebody who's been such a stalwart of the Philadelphia Eagles organization for many years. Brandon himself acknowledged during the press conference today it was emotional at times for him, and it was definitely up and down towards the beginning in his relationship with the city. He himself acknowledged that the city of Philadelphia made him earn it. But ultimately, one of the things that he pointed out during the press conference was the fact that things started to turn around for him when he finally committed that strip sack on Tom Brady in Super Bowl 52. That was a big turning point for Brandon Graham. And that team is always going to be special. It was the first time that the Eagles had won the Super Bowl, and you have somebody who's just so much of an impact player. And I will say that it's hard to believe that Brandon Graham had such a long career, going back to when I was in high school was when he was drafted. It's one of those things that you don't really expect, but this tenure that he has had is so iconic, so unique, so rare in the city of Philadelphia, across any sport, and really across the National Football League. To have somebody play for one team over the course of your career in the NFL is so very rare that it is something that we just need to take a step back for and appreciate. The Eagles have had a couple of those players, Jason Kelce retiring preceding last season, and a number of other players on the team. Lane Johnson, who just signed a contract extension in particular, comes to mind. It's rare that a player has such a long tenure with just a single team. And one of the things that I like about Brandon Graham is just how very positive he approaches. He strikes me as somebody who is incredibly genuine and incredibly appreciative of the fact that the fans hold the city accountable. Brandon Graham was asked about that during the press conference. He said that that was something that he had to work on.
You know what? I had to work on that for real. I'm still working because sometimes people can catch me in a moment where I might be going through something, and it's like they might bring up some old stuff that you might have not still knew that you had to deal with. I mean, you still had to get better with. But I think where I unblocked everybody on Twitter, I forgot. Yeah, there you go. That day. That was it right there. That's when I forgave everybody. I was like, go ahead, unblock them all, man. And so when I think for me, winning that Super Bowl the way it happened, that helped. But like I say, them conversations and knowing that, man, you're not going to make everybody happy, so stop trying. And so as long as I make as long as my family good now, that's all that really matter. My close people that really mean something to me, as long as we can have conversation and get through things together, that's all that matter. Because a lot of people don't know me. A lot of people just watch the football player that I am on what I did, but they don't know me. So I can't be mad at them for them making their own assumptions of whatever it is, because you know what assumptions do. You can't. That's why I don't assume, because if I want to know something, I'm gonna go talk to them. So. And in this case, in football, you don't really get to talk to a lot of us, so you're going to talk about it, so you can't really take offense to it. And so I try to help them young boys in that, because I know it stings sometimes hearing some of your guys that went and turned media and start talking about you, because that's the job, and I understand that too. But some people just not in that place. But now I understand. I don't take offense to it. I just talk about it, might laugh about it, because you might have said something that you might have didn't know nothing about. Me included. So it's like, it just happened. So you just got to be you, man. You can't worry about what nobody got to say. You just got to keep being you and trust what you're doing is what you want to do. Don't do it for nobody else. And so that's how I live it, and that's what I'm trying to hope I can spread for my kids. Don't It's about what you think, not what I think. It's about what you think, because you the one that did it. So that's it.
But to a certain extent, that is absolutely something that Brandon Graham typifies, is the fact that he really understands what this city demands. The city demands that you put forward your very best each and every single time that you go onto the field. The city expects excellence. The city expects perseverance through problems. There are definitely cultural reasons why not every best possible player is going to work out well. Brandon Graham absolutely typified the Philadelphia sports athlete.
To Philadelphia, we didn't start so tight, as you know. You made me work for this, and I appreciate you for that. Through the struggles, the injuries, and the moment where I had to prove myself over and over again, you never let me get comfortable. You held me accountable. You kept that chip on my shoulder. You pushed me to be better, and when the time came, we celebrated together 2 times. This city is built on hard work, resilience, and unmatched passion. And you bring the same energy to every game, every moment, every season. Your loyalty, your fire, and your unwavering support mean everything to me and this organization. Philly doesn't just support its team, it lives for them. And I see it, and I feel it, and I appreciate every single one of you. Thank you for being the heartbeat of this city. This game has changed my life, but more importantly, this city has changed my life. It has given me a purpose far beyond football. It has shown me what it means to be a leader, to be a friend, to be a man of faith, and have integrity. While my time on the field is coming to an end, my love for this team and city will never fade. Philadelphia and everybody, from the bottom of my heart, I just want to thank y'all.
Yes, he had an incredible career. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 206 games, the most games ever played by a Philadelphia Eagle. 106 of those games were starts in his career. And over the course of his seasons that he played for the Philadelphia Eagles, he had 487 combined tackles. He had 76 and a half sacks. And of course, 22 forced fumbles, 7 of those he recovered. The Philadelphia Eagles had a really special player in Brandon Graham. But just as much as his impact on the field, his impact off the field was so very palpable. Graham is somebody who players looked up to. And while he acknowledged that he might not always relate to the guys who are younger, who are going around doing their dances, what have you, he still found ways to relate to the players in the locker room.
Well, you know what? They keep you hip on what's going on. Not saying that I'm old, but you know what I mean. Different times, it's getting me ready for what I'm going to have to deal with my kids when it's like, that's what y'all talking about now? You know, so I think just being able to be relatable to the guys, and but while still being me. I'm going to be me in it. I mean, I wish I could dance like some of these boys, but I'm going to come up with something unique and crafty that I could do to be with y'all, because that's how much I want y'all to know I can appreciate y'all culture too, and I can appreciate what y'all bring to the table.
Now, Graham also acknowledged the fact that there were many people who he had to thank. In particular, he had to thank Coach Reed for drafting him, going back to the day. Now, Graham also acknowledged many, many people, from Jeffrey Lurie, Howie Roseman, Andy Reid, who drafted him, Vic Fangio, the current Eagles defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, and of course, his family, his wife, his kids, everybody who supported him over the course of his career, his extra long career as a Philadelphia Eagle. Now, one of the more interesting things about this is that Brandon Graham pretty much admitted, he didn't say it explicitly, but he kind of admitted that if he was not able to get back to the Super Bowl, there was probably a likelihood that he would not have made the announcement today surrounding his retirement.
Well, you know what? If I ain't make it back to the Super Bowl, man, I probably wouldn't be up here right now. I promise you. I'll be begging to come on back one more. But I was happy to be able to make it back, to play with my guys, to put that uniform on one last time in the big moment, big stage, and to where we went out there and performed. It all started in like one, Vic keeping us prepared, the supporting cast, the coaches, our coaches putting in that work to make sure they relay the message for the week. And we trusted ourselves in that week, man. I felt like me being able to be a part of that, that was all I needed to know. I felt like my prayers was answered, being able to come back and be with them boys one last time. And I didn't know how it was gonna be for real. I mean, we won, and of course the competitor in me wanted to come back, but I know this. I couldn't have asked for nothing sweeter than this, and I'm thankful to have came back and to be able to play my last game, like my coach say, with some integrity and play good at that. And so I can always hang my hat on that, where played good in my last game, went out on my own terms, and went out a champion.
Now, Graham did acknowledge the fact that he would. Now, Graham did acknowledge the fact that he did sustain an injury. He actually re-aggravated the same injury that knocked him on injured reserve during the 2024-25 season. He re-aggravated that during Super Bowl 59. So he decided that this was going to be something he was going to take his time on to just make sure that he was able to get fixed and get healed. But it didn't wind up at the end of the day impacting his retirement, other than I suspect that if he were not able to come back for Super Bowl 59, that he would probably have tried some way to stay involved. And Graham did acknowledge the fact that he would probably stay involved in some form. He said that he was going to have a conversation with Jeffrey Lurie, the Eagles chairman and CEO, and he ultimately was going to try to come up with some kind of a way that he can still be a part of this team that, according to him, is still doing something very special. But as the chapter on the Philadelphia Eagles with Brandon Graham comes to a close, it also marks the closure of the Eagles chapter of Andy Reid. Andy Reid drafted Brandon Graham. Lane Johnson, who is now the longest tenured Philadelphia Eagle on this roster, was drafted under the Chip Kelly era. So Brandon Graham, marking his retirement today, closes the book on that iconic chapter that really set the Eagles up for long-term success. And while this is definitely an emotional moment for Eagles fans everywhere, today is a day to say thank you to arguably one of the best defensive ends to ever play the game in the Midnight Green, as Brandon Graham concludes 15 seasons with the National Football League and the Philadelphia Eagles. But as always, let me know what you think in the comments below. What are your thoughts about Brandon Graham, his retirement, his career, any special memories that you may have of this iconic player for the last 15 seasons? Let me know. And thank you so much to everybody for tuning in to the Bird's Nest Podcast. You can support the Bird's Nest Podcast by liking and subscribing to Bird's Nest Media right here on YouTube, as well as by sharing to your social media pages. You can also find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, the Odyssey app, and iHeartRadio. Please visit birdsnestmedia.com for additional Eagles and NFL coverage. And if you feel so inclined to support us in a different way, you can find the link to our Patreon in the description below or at birdsnestmedia.com. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much to Brandon Graham for your 15 seasons with the Philadelphia Eagles. And as always, let's go Eagles.
EAGLES, Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. My last one. BG out, baby.